Continuation. 17. Although, due to forgetfulness of Krishna, the perverted movement of the senses is considered temporary and averse, when they are properly employed in eternal subjects, their disease of transience is destroyed, and they give up the desire to embrace such transient objects. Then that person appreciates the following verse from the Hari Bhakti Vilas, which is the mercy of Sri Sanatan, and compiled by Srila Gopal Bhatt, the disciple of Tridandipad Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati, who was a servant of Sri Gauranga and born in an Andhra Brahmin family. Translation. One who is initiated into Sri Vishnu's mantras and who is devoted to worshipping Lord Vishnu is called a Vaishnava by those who are learned. One who is devoid of these practices is not a Vaishnava. In translation. Although the eternal living entity is constitutionally favorably inclined towards the Supreme Lord, due to his indifference towards the eternal service of the Lord, he is eligible for being controlled by Maya. When one tries to measure material objects with his sensual knowledge, he simply increases his enjoying propensity day after day. That he is eligible for achieving transcendental knowledge, this ancient memory he also often forgets. As a result of being covered and thrown and considering himself the enjoyer of this world, such a person has no power to discriminate between good and bad. Rather, he considers temporary and unreal subjects as permanent and favorable for his enjoyment. In order to eradicate the misfortune of the living entities, who are created by his marginal potency, the most merciful Lord, in his forms as the Supersoul and the exalted spiritual master, reveals the true identity of the soul. Due to this good fortune, with a small endeavor to achieve transcendental knowledge, the conditioned soul gives up his propensity for enjoyment and renunciation and develops some taste for serving the Lord. If he develops a taste for receiving the mercy of a great liberated personality who is pure, eternally engaged in service, self-realized, and the only shelter for the living entities, then his lost Krishna consciousness is revived. Thereafter, he desires freedom from Maya's covering and throwing potencies, and searches after his own auspiciousness. As a result of this, he attains transcendental knowledge. The desire for achieving transcendental knowledge induces him to cultivate favorable service to Lord Vishnu. This cultivation begins with endeavoring for self-realization, reviving his lost propensity of service, and ultimately being reestablished as the servant of the Lord. Then he is no longer considered a non-devotee, averse to the Lord. Unfortunate people who are offensive and devoid of service to the spiritual master and Vaishnavas fall from the highest position and again become enjoyers. They then feel proud of advertising themselves as Prakriti Sahajiyas and become bound by the ropes of material conceptions. At that time, they become totally aloof from following the great devotees and the system of Pancharatra. In this way, people who thus cheat themselves become misguided. Thakur Srila Narottam has warned the devotee communities about these pseudo-devotees. People who follow the principles of the Prakriti Sahajiyas establish themselves as Vaishnavas, and though they fall down, according to the opinion of Srimad Bhagavatam 10.2.32, aruya krichena parampadam, they nevertheless declare that their nonsense activities are the transcendental pastimes of a Vaishnava. Although Sriman Mahaprabhu has said that being proud of one's varna or ashram is the business of the Prakriti Janas, because the conditioned souls disregard this instruction of the Lord, they become non-devotees, bound by the fruits of their karma. The following verse, composed by Mahaprabhu and quoted in Padyavali 63, is not recited by such self-deluded persons. Translation. I am a pure spirit soul. I am not a Brahmin. I am not a Kshatriya. I am not a Vaishya or a Sudra, nor am I a Brahmachari, a householder, a Vanaprastha, or a sannyas. I identify myself only as the servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis. He is like an ocean of nectar, and he is the cause of universal, transcendental bliss. He is always existing, with brilliance. End translation. When the four types of liberated persons become weak in their conviction that they are the eternal servants of Krishna, then they again face danger in their path to self-realization. Therefore, as soon as a living entity gives up the self-identification of being a Harijan, he immediately falls into the category of Prakritijan and becomes falsely proud of himself. Then he can no longer remain a Harijan. The Harijans who have lost their devotion to Hari due to forgetfulness of their constitutional position are like Sonara, Patara, Bhattis, stone bowls made of gold. They are actually Prakriti Janas or Prakriti Sahajiyas. Sonara, Patara, Bhattis. Quote, stone boats made of gold. End quote. For they are actually Prakriti Jans or Prakriti Sahajiyas. Their entrance into the natural transcendental abode of Vaikuntha is checked. The Harijans who have forgotten their constitutional position cannot understand the difference between the transcendentally pure Harijans and the Prakriti Jans. Due to a lack of real knowledge of the scriptures, they identify persons born in low-class families as Harijans, and themselves as Prakriti Jans born in high-class families. In this way, they waste their time. We will now describe the divisions of Harijans. Indian historians have collected from various scriptures 12 categories of Harijans, such as Sattvata, Bhakta, Bhagavat, Vaishnava, Pancharatriki, Vaikhanasa, and Karmahina. But at present, all of these categories are practically lost, leaving a rough division of 2 categories. Those who are devotees of Hari can still discern the 2 paths of Archana and Bhava. Of the 4 principal Vaishnavacharyas, Sri Madhvacharya and Sri Nimbatitya are on the path of Bhagavat Marg, or Bhava Marg, and Sri Ramanujacharya and Sri Vishnuswami are Vaishnavacharyas on the path of Pancharatriki Archana Marg. Though the respected Sri Madhvacharya and Sri Nimbatitya were Bhagavatacharyas, they nevertheless also accept the path of Archana, meant for the Kanistha Adhikari, and Sri Ramanujacharya also accepted the chanting of the holy names as a part of his Archana rituals. Sri Vishnuswami was the first commentator on the Vedanta Sutras. These four personalities have been accepted as the four sampradaya acharyas. At this juncture, we are quoting Sridhar Swami's commentary on the beginning of the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. There are two ways in which the Vaishnava sampradayas originated. The first of these has come from Narayana by the way of Brahma, Narada, and so on. The other comes from Lord Sesa through Sanat-kumara, and then Sankhyayana Muni. End translation. Needless to say, the personalities in the above-mentioned sampradayas are all Vaishnavas, as confirmed in the Padma Purana Uttarakhanda in the following words. Translation. O sage, one who always worships Lord Vishnu, and whose eternal Lord, only object of worship and goal of life is Vishnu, is known in this world as a Vaishnava. End translation. Actually, the categories of Harijans are established according to two principal tastes. We should refer to the analysis of the two categories, Pancharatrika and Bhagavata, given by Sripad Jiva Goswami Prabhu in his Bhakti Sandarbha. It is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 12.352 as follows. Translation. Whatever result was obtained in Satya Yuga by meditating on Vishnu, in Treta Yuga by performing sacrifices, and in Dwapara Yuga by serving the Lord's lotus feet, can be obtained in Kali Yuga simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. End translation. We are herein citing evidence from the Sri Narayana Samhita, quoted by Srimad Acharya Anandatirtha Purnapragna Madhva Muni in his commentary on the Mundaka Upanishad, while teaching the Bhagavat Marg to the fallen souls of Kali Yuga. Translation. The people of Dwapara Yuga worshipped Hari through the system of Pancharatrika. But in the present age of Kali, rather than following the process of Dwapara Yuga, one can worship Lord Hari only by chanting his holy names. End translation.